This is going to be a very quick look at the new stuff that's coming out for Planetside 2 over the early course of 2016, which is all on the test server right now, and it's quite a big deal, guys, so you should really check this out. So perhaps the most hyped is the new base building system that uses these vehicles called ants to go and harvest materials and power, and then you'll be able to build bases. At the moment you can only build the core, which if you blow it up it explodes and kills everyone in the immediate area. The actual ant drives very slowly and isn't too resilient. It's almost like a Sundra really, and you go up to these orange crystals that are glowing across the map and you basically just try and harvest them. It seems that, I don't know whether you can upgrade it, but at the moment there's a capacity of 5,000, which at the moment the crystals that are largest contain 5,000 of the energy or the resource that you're trying to gobble up basically. There's the front two pincers which the driver uses, and then there's also a turret which a sort of gunner can use, but there isn't any sort of indicator at the moment if you're the gunner to as if you're harvesting anything at all. I'm not sure if it works at the moment. The one thing I'd say I was testing with the core was just to see how resilient it was, and it did take quite a beating actually. I thought when I saw the original videos on their live stream that it was a bit weak, but I think they might have strengthened it up a bit. But I do still wonder how it will fare against an actual attack from 96 plus players. But anyway, the construction stuff isn't in enough really to make a judgment yet, but I think something important to realise is that this construction system sort of ties into the other additions that they're making at the moment. For example, the map changes, just confined to Indar right now, but this may extend to other continents as he starts to edit them. Basically, Xander's removed a lot of the small bases. East Canyon Checkpoint is now just a garage, the same with West Highlands, Blackshard Iridium Mine, and a few others. Basically, what's happened is they've opened up the lanes so that there can be fights in between the lanes, and there's also sort of, rather than having a whole base that they'll take 3 minutes or whatever to try and capture, that will break up the flow of the battle. Now you'll just be having a fight in between it, and there are the garages or cover to put your sundies in, and I think that perhaps these open areas might be places where you can place bases and have like forward bases closer to the next base, which might be an interesting idea or addition. And I think it's important to open up the map to allow for more sort of sandboxy play, and I think after playing Squad, if anyone saw that video recently, it's a big thing for tactics to be able to place your own bases, your own spawns, and to have these strategic elements that are outside of a beaten path basically, and I hope it'll work this way. He's also just generally updated the bases on Indar. For example, in Quartz Ridge there's a garage, and below that there's a tunnel underground into the base, which he's hoping will make it easier to cap. He's reduced the hill that goes from Havar to Quartz Ridge, hoping that it'll be easier to attack from Quartz Ridge to Havar, which was always horrible because there was a massive cliff and then there was a base right on the edge where people spawned, and they could basically just fire down into the gulch and you didn't really stand a chance going up there. He's also removed a lot of the turrets from the tops of tech plants, which is an interesting idea. I'm not sure whether the AA turrets actually did that much, because if an attacking force was coming towards the base, they'd often just destroy them as quickly as possible, and I don't really know how long they actually lasted. They've also removed a lot of the cap points outside of towers into buildings outside of the towers, which I think was always probably needed because it was too easy to defend A points in towers. They've also updated the warp gates. There's a lot more in the warp gate. I think there's 8 ammunition pads to land on, and they've sort of spread out where the vehicle pads are. And it's a much more functioning warp gate than what we had before. I mean, the Warpgate before was just like an empty space with just a little spawn room, and that's all you use, so I hope it will be used more, and I wonder whether they're sort of ramping it up so that eventually it'll be able to be attacked once the victory points roll over. I'm not sure. Well, we'll see anyway, but it's a nice addition. And then we've got the heavy shield nerf. So if you didn't know, in Planetside 2, heavy assaults have sort of been the meta in infantry play because the shields gave so much of an advantage over other infantry players, because you pop the shield and then you'd have an extra 750 hit points, which is a lot of hits basically, So now they've reduced the nanite mesh and adrenaline shield from 750 hit points to 450, and what this actually does, which we've been testing, is that basically now you can't survive a headshot from a bolt action, which is one big thing, which before you were able to survive if you had your heavy shield on, which probably has saved me quite a few times, so that'll throw me. But in return for that, they have made it so that the shields last a lot longer. I don't know whether this is actually useful on the heavy assault, because when you have the shield on with the nanite mesh and adrenaline, you move slower, so you're more of a target. In the end, I think probably this is going to be a good thing, because heavy assaults were just spammed basically, and they're just, it didn't make sense that they were just literally the best class on infantry and there's nothing to sort of compete with it. I think it's going to give a negative to the movement speed and a positive for the shield to balance it out, so there isn't just a positive rather than a negative. The resist shield got about a 5% resistance decrease, but it does seem that the resist shield might be the option going forwards, because it seems to soak up a lot more than the adrenaline shield does now, and the utility of it being able to move faster is quite a big plus compared to the really slow movement on the nanite mesh and adrenaline shield. A small little tweak that may make a big difference is that you can drop out of the Valkyrie now without dying. Basically, it'll act like a small galaxy, and the Valkyrie is one of my favourite vehicles in the game, just because you can have those people riding akimbo on the sides of the vehicle, and you can just look out over the wilderness as you fly in the air, tumbling around, and it's just cool. And I think that's going to be fun for smaller squads to quickly drop into bases, and also just generally for epicness so that people will be in the Valkyries basically using them. And then we've got the leadership changes, which I couldn't get too much footage of. I did make like a little squad. Basically, they've made it so that you can have a lot more people in your platoon, which is actually called a fire team now. Basically, in each squad you can split it up into basically 4 separate mini squads. They call it smaller groups, so that you'll basically have platoons within platoons. I don't know whether you can have 48 in each squad. I'm not too sure, to be honest, because I didn't have enough people to check that out with. But it's an interesting addition, and also they've made the map on the left hand side and the bottom a lot more functionable. Basically, you can right click on the map near a player and kick them from the squad if you're not happy with what they're doing. You can promote them to the platoon leader, you can invite people to the squad off of the mini map on the left. It's just a lot easier to use, and also you can place waypoints using that little mini map on the left hand side in the corner. I think that's a big deal, because it just means that you're not staring at pressing M and looking at the full map when you're leading. It means that you can do a lot of the things just very quickly on the fly, just on the left hand side, which may make it less of a big hindrance for anyone to lead, and maybe people want to do it more. There's also a button on your outfit screen saying invite all outfit members to the squad, which I think is useful if you're starting up a squad and you want everyone from your outfit to join, or you want to quickly fill up your squads. It's just a nice addition. They've also added another 20 battle ranks, so 100 is no longer the highest, which makes my battle rank 100 on the scythe with a Renzook irrelevant now, but hey ho. But I do think this is going to be good for the late game players. It just adds something to do basically. And no, your XP from before won't affect this. It's going to be basically all the XPs from the date this patch will go live. So unfortunately, those on Dassenfall that have 180 or whatever battle rank now won't actually have any sort of effect from that. They'll still have to start afresh from battle rank 100. I'm not really going to go over the smaller changes to the weapons, but they have changed the range for resing players. It's basically 6 meters now on all ranks. Yeah, they've increased the battle rifles maximum damage range from 8 meters to 15 meters, so hopefully that'll make them more competitive in medium ranges, but we'll have to see on that one. It's hard to test out in the shooting ranges because the battle ranks are always difficult to use because you're firing at moving targets, and although when you fire it does return to the center of the screen, trying to track moving targets is what sort of makes you miss the shots, and you can't burst in the same way that you can with an automatic rifle. Anyway, these are all subject to change because they're on the public test server, and I'd implore anyone that can to go and test things out and see if there's any bugs. But I do hope that it'll come out quite soon in early 2016, and I think there's a lot of good stuff here, guys, and I think it might be something that's worth coming back for if you've stopped playing Planetside 2. This is going to be a massive update once all this sort of gets pushed through, and I think it'll really refresh the game and really shake up the class meta whilst trying to tackle the idea of the bases and the flow of battle, making these battlegrounds, which Santa Claus has called them, which are basically more open areas that are dynamic, and we'll have these bases that will contribute to taking planets, and I think that'll be another addition to the meta. So I think it's all good stuff going forwards. What does everyone else think? Is anyone else had a chance to go have a look at the PTS? Anyway, thank you all very much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe if you like what you saw. Until next time, everybody, and Merry Christmas, Joshino.